The Department of Homeland Security says the country has now gone 14 months with no releases of illegal aliens caught at the southern border. Oh, and Texas has a new Secretary of State. This is Monday, July 20th, 2026.
Texas Scorecard presents the day's first news for the Lone Star State, the Texas Minute, with your host, Michael Quinn Sullivan.
Thanks for starting your week with this Monday edition of the Texas Minute. Following shortly behind New York's moratorium on data centers, the city of Fort Worth is now set to consider its own pause on building what President Donald Trump has called money machines and liquid gold. More on that story coming up. According to the Department of Homeland Security, there have now been 14 consecutive months of no releases of illegal aliens at the southwest border. This stands in direct contrast to the Biden administration's catch and release policy when encountering illegals. Under those Biden policies, between 68,000 and 150,000 illegal aliens were being caught and released into the country every month. Now, DHS says illegal border crossings overall are at a level not seen in more than 30 years and down 94% compared to the Biden administration. The entire 2026 fiscal year has shown a lower average number of encounters with illegal aliens compared to just 1 month in 2024. A federal appellate court has affirmed the qualified immunity for 3 police officers after a man died while in their custody. The court found that the officers had mistaken his rare medical condition for extreme exhaustion after he ran from Texarkana College campus police. Darren Cornelius Boykin was on campus despite not being a student in July 2019 when he was stopped by police who suspected he was responsible for a series of thefts. Boykin fled, leading officers on a half-mile chase before being caught. He resisted arrest but was subdued by the time officers from the Texarkana Police Department arrived. It was then discovered he was wanted in Ohio for a parole violation involving burglary. Once in the police vehicle, he complained of being unable to breathe. Officers believed these symptoms were attributable to extreme exercise in the heat and turned up the air conditioning. He lost consciousness during the drive and was unresponsive and without a pulse as the officers arrived at the jail. Paramedics restored Boykin's pulse, but he ultimately died at the hospital. Unbeknownst to the officers, Boykin had a rare condition that made him particularly vulnerable to sudden death from extreme exertion. His family sued, claiming police had been deliberately indifferent to Boykin's serious medical needs. The federal district court had sided with the police officers, and now the Fifth Circuit has also. Fort Worth is now the latest Texas city considering how to handle the data center boom. 5 city council members there are calling for a pause on projects within their city limits, citing concerns such as environmental impact, power needs, and noise strain. Despite acknowledging the economic importance of data centers, a press release from the members said they wanted the pause so the city could, quote, adopt regulations that thoughtfully balance competing interests. Among other things, the city is considering an increase in the mandatory distance that data centers can be from residential areas, as well as requiring acoustic barriers, closed-loop cooling systems, and even the complete prohibition of data centers dedicated to crypto mining. The issue is expected to be addressed during the Fort Worth City Council meeting on August 11th. The Texas Minute will be right back.
News and analysis on what's happening in Texas. End your day with daily headlines from Texas Scorecard. Every day at 5 p.m., join me, Brandon Waltons, as we recap the biggest stories of the day and talk about why they matter to you. From the state capitol to town hall, there's no shortage of events happening. Keep up with it all. Watch and subscribe to Daily Headlines from Texas Scorecard.
On Friday, Governor Greg Abbott officially appointed longtime advisor Robert Howden as Texas's Secretary of State, placing him in charge of the state's elections office months before the November general election. Jane Nelson had held the position since 2023. She tendered her resignation last month, which also took effect on Friday. Mr. Howden has worked in the administrations of 4 different Republican governors, starting with Bill Clements back in the late 1980s. He's also worked as a lobbyist and led the Texas chapter of the National Federation of Independent Business. He'll take over the Secretary of State office amidst a federal lawsuit brought by the Republican Party of Texas that challenges the state's open primary system. The lawsuit, which features Attorney General Ken Paxton siding with the GOP over the state, asserts that the current system violates the party's freedom of association rights under the U.S. Constitution. Governor Abbott recently endorsed the efforts to close the Republican primaries through the legislature, declaring at the Republican Party of Texas convention in June that, quote, only Republicans should vote in Republican primaries. Why anyone thinks non-Republicans should be allowed to help pick the Republican candidates is a little baffling. You can find details on all the stories mentioned today and keep up with the latest news by visiting TexasScorecard.com. This edition of the Texas Minute was based on the original reporting of Grant Hawk, Travis Morgan, Hunter Burney, and Brandon Waltons. Our producer is Nick Shepard. I look forward to seeing you out around the Lone Star State. Now, go make it a great Monday.